The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw Dating, preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and broadcasting live from Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star. Now, your hosts, Christy Scales, Aisha Morrison, Nicole Hutchison, and Jess Navarez.
You're watching Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys in the SWBC studio. I'm Nicole Hutchison alongside Jess Navarez and Christy Scales. Oh, we're missing Aisha Morrison.
We are.
It's okay.
She'll be back.
It's
She'll
okay.
She'll
She'll be back tomorrow. Ladies, we had a great day today. Saw them practice. Great vibes at practice. Obviously got locker room. Heard from Mike McCarthy today as well. The biggest thing on the injury report was, of course, just Jaylen Herz. So with the toe injury. Let's go ahead and just talk about some good things you guys saw. Or you noticed something at practice as far as like the guys putting their hands in some ice. Go ahead and tell the world.
Yeah. So tell the whole world. No pressure, right? So at practice today, I noticed, and it might just be the first time I noticed it, but it is something that they do often, and we'll get into that in a second. But during practice, I noticed Jake Ferguson, and he was doing some ball drills, and then he took his gloves off, and he submerged his hands into this bucket, and it looked like ice water from afar. And he was taking his hands out, and he was like doing a little shake, like it was cold, put his gloves back on, and then continued to do more ball drills. So he was catching more balls at that point. So in locker room, I was talking to Luke Schoonmaker about it. Jake wasn't in there. And so I wanted to just make sure that's what I was seeing. Yeah. I was like, was Jake sticking his hand in some ice water today? He's like, yeah, we do that when we're typically preparing for an outdoor game, and especially if there's any kind of cold weather in the forecast, that's how we prepare. And so it's not, like I said, it's not something that they are just doing now and something new. It's something that I just noticed for the first time, and I thought was really interesting because I looked this up earlier and I tweeted about it, that the forecast, although it doesn't seem cold if you're sitting out there watching the game, you're also not the ones playing football, right? Oh. So they have to prepare a little differently. A high of 66 and a low of 48. So if you're talking
and up there
during
it's
kickoff,
colder than a typical 48.
It's an eastern wind, right? And so if you're talking about the low of 48, that's typically the overnight low you're going to see in the early morning hours, but it's still going to be cold. So that high temperature, you're probably not going to see that high temperature during the time of kickoff. So it is going to be a colder game.
Okay, forecast.
No matter, I used to do weather. So it is going to be a colder game.
Yeah.
And so it is outdoors, and you have to remember that although this may not seem like a way to prepare, and trust me, I'm going through the Twitter comments, people asking, well, why is that important? He's from Wisconsin, he should know. And it has nothing to do with Jake Ferguson. It's just specifically a way the Cowboys prepare for colder games. I just thought it was interesting, something we hadn't seen before.
Yeah, I was going to say, Christy,
we're getting a break pretty much with the weather because, as you say, the high in the 60s. Of course, remember to set your clocks back this week. Fall forward, fall back.
Fall
back. You fall
so we
back.
get extra. But the thing is, it's a 4:25 Eastern kickoff. It's going to be dark already. The good thing is the wind is only about to be 5 to 10 miles an hour, so we're catching a break on that. But I remember the first year that we played at Lincoln Financial Field, and it was like a late November game, maybe early December. It was really cold, and the vet just used to be terrible, just in the concrete and on that AstroTurf. It was always freezing in there, and so we go to the link, and I look, and behind the visitors' bench, they have a folding table set out. And on top of the folding table are 3 hot beverage dispensers with coffee, hot chocolate, and chicken broth. And I'm thinking, this is a kinder, gentler Philly, right? That they're, even for the visiting team, they're putting out some warm beverages to keep us warm. And so on the sidelines, I'm out there for like 6 hours, so I'm looking for any kind of thing. So I get that chicken broth, and then it occurs to me, we're in Philly. They might have spit in this. I don't know. But I didn't really care. It was warm. It was warm, and it felt good. But no, we are blessed that we do have some good conditions. But I think you're right, Jess. I'm glad you brought that up because when you're going to play in a game where there's a lot of rain, they'll take the balls, the footballs, and put them in water, dunk them in that so that Dak can practice throwing wet football. So they also practiced today. The sound, the decibel level for the speakers was even a little bit higher because when you have an away game, you're always working on your silent count. Yeah. And so they were working on that. All week they'll be working on silent count.
Yeah, you could hear the music from where I sit in the office.
Yeah.
It was pretty loud.
A little loud today.
A little loud. Christy, have you heard or have you seen the guys do what Jess kind of noticed them do, like sticking their hands in ice water to kind of prepare for games like this?
Yeah, they actually the funniest. This didn't have anything to do with cold weather games, outdoor games. But we had a tight ends coach. He had been with the Giants for many years, and so. At training camp, this is back when it's Witten and Escobar and all these guys, and they had them stick their heads in a big trash can. They dumped out the trash and they put in ice water, and so the guys would stick their heads, dunk themselves in it, throw their heads up, and just as they came up out of the water, the ball would be right at them. They'd have to catch it. No. And then Mike Pope was the name of the tight ends coach at the time. And then they also had it there in Oxnard at training camp. We stay at a residence inn, and so you have the individual like buildings, kind of like fourplexes with upstairs and downstairs rooms, and then you have several pools throughout the property. And so the guys would jump in the pools. And before they would cannonball, they'd have to catch the passes. So different coaches have them do different things over the time. But the head in the bucket, that's an all-timer.
That's different. Never heard of that. That's a little different.
A lot.
I don't know if I could do that.
Hey, if you can maintain your concentration was Coach Pope's thought. Yeah. So, but it'd be interesting to get Jason Witten to come onto the program right now and have his thoughts recalling those days.
Look, if he ever wants to come in here,
I'll give him a call.
We have a chair.
Soon as the high school season ends, get Jason and Michelle to come in.
Yep.
Please join us. We would love that.
All right, ladies, let's go ahead and start diving into this matchup. It's going to be a good one. Obviously on Sunday, 4:25 Eastern kickoff for the Eagles and the Cowboys. It's finally time. So many strengths, so many. Oh, wait, I did forget about that. Wow, that's crazy. Sorry, thanks for the reminder.
You're okay, got
Thank you. Appreciate that. We also heard from Trayvon Diggs today. The first time since he suffered his torn ACL, he spoke to the media in the locker room, which was actually kind of not expected because I just looked over and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. What did you guys, I know I didn't get a chance to listen to him since I was obviously waiting on Duran, but what did you guys get to hear from him? What kind of did y'all take away from that?
Yeah, so here's the thing. Being a reporter and you see somebody coming in the locker room on crutches, you're like, whoa. And I didn't know it was him, so I'm like, oh my gosh, he's on crutches over there. Oh no. And then I'm like, oh, it's Trayvon. Whew. I mean, like, it was really refreshing to see him specifically back in the locker room because his presence is just so peaceful. Yeah. And even in the post-surgery mindset that he's in, he's at peace with what happened, and you can really gather that from him. He's in peace with it. He said there's no point in dwelling on it. Everything happens for a reason. And he said now it's making light of his situation. So what has Trayvon been doing? Watching football nonstop. He said he's getting a different perspective on the game, being able to watch it, from his couch. He said nonstop. He's taking up some reading, so doing a little bit more of that. And it was just really interesting to hear kind of where his mindset is now. And he did have a request for everybody. He said that today is Aiden's birthday, so please wish Aiden a happy birthday. Trayvon told you to do it, so you have to do it.
Happy birthday, Aiden.
Excuse to go on, right? Get on social media and wish his son happy birthday.
Yep.
Yeah, he was also really complimentary of Duran Bland, of course, and so that was really key. And then another thing, one of the questions was in regards to another Cowboy defensive back who's really stepped up and having a good season. That's Jordan Lewis to play so well, and the fact that he's coming back from that severe foot injury. Not only is Trayvon proud of the way that Jordan is playing, but the way that Jordan worked diligently through his rehab, kept a positive mental outlook while this crossroads of his career with this serious injury. So he specifically talked about Jordan and drawing inspiration from what Jordan has done. And I think when you say, oh, you guys haven't talked to Trayvon since, he's been out over a month. Well, remember that when you have an ACL tear, you have to wait a few weeks for the swelling to go down before you can even have the surgery. And so that's why we haven't seen. Trayvon has been at some games. In fact, he was at the one out in L.A. A couple weeks ago. But in terms of getting to talk to him, it was really nice to have a chance to catch up and catch us and hear his thoughts.
Yeah, I actually I didn't get a chance to hear Trayvon, but I talked to Duron, and he asked him basically, even though Trayvon hasn't been in the building as much because, he is rehabbing and things like that, just what's the communication like between you guys? And he was like, listen, I can call up Trayvon anytime I need help, anytime I need help with as far as like learning an offense and things like that. So they all have that great relationship as far as like the younger guys and the older guys in the room. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I know he is very proud of the way that Duron has really stepped up in his role. But let's go ahead and now let's move forward into talking about this matchup. There we go. Switching gears. Let's talk about some of the strengths of this Cowboys team so far, what you've liked, what they bring to the table come Sunday against this Eagles team. Who wants to start?
Yeah, I think what you're seeing is a more confident team that has officially opened up its playbook a lot more than what you've been seeing prior to the Chargers game. Even I think the Chargers game really was your setting stone, and now what you're seeing is offensively you're seeing a little bit more of Mike McCarthy showing his hand, and we've talked about that here on the podcast before. But talking to some of the guys in the locker room, the feel that I'm getting is that you still have not seen a lot of what they're actually doing in practice because you haven't had to bring out those special packages just yet. Which is interesting to me in terms of not even just the run game, but the pass game as well. There's a lot of things that I can say they are planning to do at some point, whether it be this week or the next few weeks. But there's some good stuff in the works that they've been doing at practice. And so that was actually really cool to hear from a couple of the guys. But overall, what I like is the confidence that they're playing with because they're not being overly confident. They are being very even-keeled right now, and they're taking this week by week. And that's such a cliche to use in football of take it game by game, week by week. But you're starting to really see this even-keeled mentality of they're genuinely focused on what's ahead of them and not jumping forward. Like that.
I'm really interested to see how the Cowboys can match up against this Phillies defensive line, obviously the strength of their team, but they're so good and they're so deep, and because they have so many good D linemen that they can rotate in, they can continue to play a five-man front, which makes it very, very difficult to run against a five-man front, obviously. And so this Cowboys run game, shall we say, remains a work in progress? Is that a generous way to say it?
That's very generous.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. And so it's going to be tough sledding. But the other thing is, they're the interior of the line. And so when they can take three defensive linemen and put them over your three interior players, and, like Tyler Biadish's strength for the Cowboys is when he can get out and get in space and get to the second level and stuff. And so when you're crowded in there, that's going to be super, super tough this week. The other thing is with the five-man front, they're so good on defense and they get a lot of pressure. They don't have to blitz that much. Right. And a real strength for the Cowboys in the passing game this year has been Dak against the blitz. He has just been absolutely in fuego. Yeah. And he is. And the thing about, I know we think, the blitz is great and send extra people and stuff. Well, that's a risk reward, not just for the Cowboys defense, but any defense. So if you're going to send a fifth rusher, then you're you're leaving an open spot behind you. So if you don't land, if you don't get to the quarterback, you don't necessarily have to sack him, but affect him enough that it disrupts his throw. So if you're not able to land, if you're not able to disrupt, then a good veteran quarterback or an offense that can help with pass protection, that has someone like Tony Pollard who's good, and Pollard has graded out very well in pass protection when he's needed to do that this year, then someone like Dak, hey, they can make you pay. And just a couple of numbers in regard to Dak against the blitz this year, he has the highest completion percentage in the NFL, over 76%. He's completing over 3/4 of his passes when making them pay when the other teams blitz. So, and also if they get him on the move, Dak has always been good when throwing on the run. He's completing just over 68% when he is on the run. So, that's worked in Dak's favor. But the thing is, the Eagles, they don't have to really rely on that just because their front is so solid.
Talking about that front, and we'll get to Dak's play in a little bit, I have some numbers as well. That run defense is only allowing against New England, they allowed 76 rushing yards. The Vikings just 28. The Buccaneers just 41. Los Angeles Rams 54. The Jets 89. The Washington Commanders were the only team to put up over 100 yards, 100 plus yards. I think it was like 107 against them, and that was in overtime.
They are by far the number one run defense in the league. 65 yards allowed on average per game. That's incredible.
That means it kind of brings back Aisha's point yesterday. Now McCarthy has to be creative, right, with Tony Pollard and Rico Dowdle probably getting them in space. How much would you want to see that?
Here's the thing. Well, and we talked about this yesterday too, how this West Coast system, the pass opens up the run in this case. So here's the thing. You can't shy away what's been working for you. And the Cowboys have found ways to win games without relying heavily on the run game. Doesn't mean that it should stay like that. But in this game, if you know that's going to be a heavy feat, you just can't continue to force it if it's not going to work, right? You have to rely on what's working for you. So I don't expect to see much of a change this week. This is not the run defense you test your run game against, really.
You still have to keep them honest.
You still have to do it.
You still have to keep them honest.
You still have to do it. You still have to challenge it, but it's not the game that you're going to see the explosive Tony Pollard, over 100-yard game.
Not. Or do like the quick pitch. That was a really nice play last week. I really love that.
That was nice, but you're not going to see... all I'm saying is going to continue to be the narrative into next week is what I'm thinking. But that doesn't make it a bad thing either, because you can still test them. You can still battle test them with the physicality that this running back room does have, because you even have special packages within the run game itself that you haven't seen yet with a guy like Hunter Lipke. If you want to use him as that fullback and that strength, do it. Nobody's going to see that coming. Hunter hasn't done really anything this season, but you saw it in the preseason what he's capable of doing, right? So if you want to keep them on their toes, use that. Depending on what Deuce Vaughn is, if he's active or not for this game, that could be another thing.
Well, Turpin out of the backfield, you could go with speed. And the other thing is, when we think of the run game, obviously handoffs, but there are things where you can, do quick passes, and whether it's Dowdle or Pollard, Turpin, anyone, and like that short, quick passes, it's almost like an extended handoff, right? So to your point, getting the guys the ball in space.
Also, to your point about Kevontae Turpin, I caught up with him in the locker room. We talked for a long time in the locker room. He's so knowledgeable, man, and I was really happy to ask Bones, John Fossil, yesterday. Was it yesterday? Whatever day it was, Monday.
I think it was Monday.
Whatever. All my days blend together. About him and his growth, and I was talking to Turpin about that and kind of what we discussed on the podcast of how have you seen yourself grow, getting more involved in the offense and, just being a special teams guy last year, but now it seems like it's kind of giving you a leg up in special teams to be more involved in the offense. He said, it's just keeping me more locked in during the game. He said, last year when I was just special teams, I was kind of just waiting on the punt returns, and there was long gaps between that. And it's not the same kind of locked in feeling that you get when you know you have to be ready to go at this quick pace on offense. So he said that's grown a lot, and overall just him being able to play more has helped him a lot. And he goes back to saying, I got the rest I needed. Now I feel like a different version of myself, because this time last year, I was already hurting. I was sore. And he's like, you know that? I told you that. I'm like, I know I didn't air it out, but like you did tell me that. But he said he feels like a different version of himself this time compared to this time last year, because he's actually had rest. And so, yeah, I think this is a game you get Cavante involved with 100% in any way you can. He's still very fresh. He hasn't gotten a lot of snaps so far either. But, yeah, it was cool to catch up with him today and talk about that.
Yeah. Wow, that was actually a really good point there. Sorry.
No, sorry.
Lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. No, I mean, kind of, I would like to see McCarthy get him involved. And it's good to see a guy just be so patient, right? He's not getting that many snaps, but he is getting involved, obviously, in special teams, making plays. And, you know, you like to see a guy like that just really stay humble and, you know, wait for his opportunities to shine. But now, hey, we never know. This could be the weekend.
It could be the game.
It could be the game.
What I like about Cavante, too, and Bones kind of echoed this, is he's not trying to force things to happen anymore. And he'll admittedly say, it's not that I'm trying to force it, but when you don't get that playing time, you're kind of like eager to make things happen because you only have so much of it. So now that he has the opportunity he does on the offense, it kind of takes that anxiety off of him to be like, look, I know what I have. Yeah. I have a role. I belong. And he's not fighting those rookie feelings anymore either. And so it's really been interesting to see his progression, and it's really cool to see where his mindset is.
That's awesome.
And just to put a bow on it in terms of his snap count on offense, so through 7 games, 65 offensive snaps.
Booklet. Where in the world?
Christy has so many things in her bag.
Just over 13% of plays he's been out there on offense, and so that's actually really good. The opening game, 11 snaps on offense, and so it'll be interesting. 16 was actually he had 21 against the Patriots, so that was a good one for him.
Wow.
The up and up.
Is there a way to make a copy of that? Because I need that whole booklet.
There we go.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Back to, well, actually, let's go ahead and take a break. I'm sorry, ladies. We gotta let us run over a little bit. We'll be right back. You're watching Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. We'll be right back.
We know that juicy, cheesy, grilled to perfection burger sounds amazing, but it does sound like something is missing. Pepsi, baby! The yin to this burger's yang. Burgers and Pepsi go together like burgers and Pepsi. This perfect blending of flavors makes every bite of lettuce, every sesame seed on the bun, and every sip of that crisp, refreshing, ice-cold cola a journey to Foodtopia. Burgers, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that 6th ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
The season for youth football and dance camps presented by Invisalign. Don't miss your chance to learn from the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders and former NFL players at AT&T Stadium on December 22nd and 23rd. Celebrate the holidays with the Cowboys. Register today at dallascowboys.com/camp.
That is such a great Christmas gift. You know, you're looking for something, and it also keeps the kids busy. You also have a lot of people coming in from out of town, possibly. And so if you got nieces and nephews or grandkids,
go to camp.
That might be in the North Texas area. It's really cool. It is the real Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders that instruct at the Dance Academy, and we do a little game in the afternoon and try and make it a real game day atmosphere. So I hope some of you are able to attend.
I can't wait till my nephews get older and they can come do things like that. That would be so cool. I mean, growing up in a smaller town, you don't have things like that at your disposal. Like,
where are you from again?
Las Cruces, New Mexico.
Okay.
And so growing up around there, really the sports opportunities in general are very limited. They're there, they're just limited, and they've grown over the last few years substantially. And so no, being able to see things like this, I'm like, take advantage of it if you're able to come, because it's so cool. And the cheerleaders love to do it. I know you always talk about that. And any opportunity these players get to give back, it's pretty cool.
That's pretty
Former
awesome.
or current.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's pretty awesome. And they have so many just different events going on. Like, right?
I know. I always read
the whole calendar.
I know. We're going to start the Friday and Saturday night Christmas at the Star 2 weeks from this Friday. So that's
don't you worry. That's our next read.
It's going to be amazing.
That's our next read. We'll talk about that in our
Christmas at the Star. Wow. Okay.
You have to wait to see what it is.
I'm sorry. My bad.
So this next read.
My bad.
I'm making sure that's what it is.
Let's go ahead and just keep diving into this game, guys, ladies. Obviously, this defense putting on a show against the Rams, back-to-back showings for them, that side of the ball. What strengths do you feel like, or let's talk about the matchups that stand out the most as far as this Cowboys defense and this Rams, they're all running in together. The Eagles offense.
It's that time of the season.
It's that time of the season. I think one that stands out, obviously, to me is that A.J. Brown, Deron Bland matchup, right? And I talked to him earlier, and I'm like, man, how do you slow down a guy like that? And he was like, man, he's just so good at contested catches, but and they're going to target me. I'm a young corner, they're thinking that I'm not ready for this, but I just got to keep doing what I'm doing, and that's just making sure I'm reading my keys, and playing receiver has helped him so much as far as ball hawking. So, I mean, I think he's very confident, but he's not. He's trying to show that he's confident. I mean, you're going up against a guy like A.J. Brown. That's a terrible.
It is. It is. Mike McCarthy talked about A.J. Brown this morning, saying his catching radius is something that he was like automatically when he was asked about it, he's like, his catching radius. He was very quick to answer that. And then he also pointed out, and I thought this was an interesting point by Mike McCarthy, his connection with Jaylen Herz. Because again, you don't think about that when you're really diagnosing the other side of the ball, and you're diagnosing other teams and you're looking in these matchups. That's kind of something you forget. It's a simple football term, but we talk about it here with CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. But to see it on the other side, that's why receivers and quarterbacks can be so successful together, and that's why they're able to do these big things, because the same thing has been going on the other side, like you've seen here with Dak and CeeDee. But scary.
Yeah, that's
scary.
One of the great moves by Howie Roseman, the GM for the Eagles, was to bring him in because to your point, Jaylen Herz and A.J. Brown have that real connection, but they didn't come into the league together. It's not like CD's been here the whole time and been working with Dak the whole time. But I think what's interesting about A.J. Brown, 60 receptions already, almost 1,000 yards, 960 receiving yards in just 8 games. So sometimes when you see numbers like 60 catches in 7 games, and you see high volume, but what you don't often see is high average, right? But with A.J. Brown, you get both. His propensity for the big plays. In fact, he leads the NFL. A big play in the passing game is designed as 20-plus yards, okay? He has 17 of them in 8 games. 17 receptions of 20-plus yards. To put that in perspective, we know that CD has really been stacking those up. CD has 14 of those now, and that's 4th in the league. So what
Not
A.J. Brown's been able to do. The other thing is when you're having to defend A.J. Brown, who's a kind of a bigger body, those contested catches kind of thing. And then you have a Devontae Smith, who's a more diminutive but faster kind of guy. It's hard enough to go against guys like that. But when you have a quarterback like Jaylen Herz who can extend plays, who can, when you're having to cover guys for 3.5, 4.5, maybe 5 seconds, and having to plaster across the field when you're going against especially a speedy guy like Smith. Oh, and by the way, Dallas Goedert, at tight end. So that makes it even tougher. And I think where Jaylen Herz gets the most credit for how he's improved over the past couple seasons, the question was how accurate can he be with his passing? Well, he's shown these past 2 years that he can put it on the money when he needs to. And even when he can't, it's just pointed out the catch radius of a guy like Brown and then the speed threat of a guy like Smith. It's very, very impressive. But the other thing that the Eagles have been really great at this year is third down. They are fantastic at sustaining drives, and they are number one in the NFL on third down conversions. 50%. Y'all, that's incredible.
Yeah. That's a great
the Cowboys. We know the
season.
Cowboys' offense has been really good at converting third downs. They have. They're third in the league. They're 48%. So, but the Eagles even better. The Cowboys' defense. The Cowboys' defense has actually done a good job on third downs. They're allowing just over 34%. So something's got to give in there. But because they've been able to get these third downs, we know what they've been able to do on fourth downs with the push and all of that. Really good at that. What the Eagles have done so well is sustain long drives. So we know that the Cowboys' offense have been really good at that. The Cowboys have 22 sustained drives. That would be 10-plus plays. Y'all, that's a long drive if you got it double-digit plays in one drive. The Cowboys' offense is best in the league with 22. Right behind them is the Eagles at 21, and so that's the thing is getting them off the field, and that's going to be tough. And in fact, the Eagles are second in the league in time of possession, so they're able to control the clock, grind it out, convert on third, and if they don't convert on third, they've been getting a lot of fourth and short, been converting on that, and so there may not be that many possessions in this game, guys. In a normal NFL game on offense, if you get 9 or 10 possessions, maybe 11, that's probably about average. Yeah. If these offenses perform the way that they have through the first half of the season, I think that the main thing for Sunday is which defense is going to get a takeaway, who's going to make a play on special teams, who is going to be able to steal a possession from the other team. That's going to be the key for this weekend.
Yeah, I was going to, that brings me to our next point. I know the Eagles are, I think, second in the league in turnovers. Jaylen Herz leads the NFL in interceptions thrown. How many are, Mike McCarthy kind of touched on this a little bit, that, his interceptions aren't always credit to the quarterback. It's always not on Jaylen Hurts' fault. But how many opportunities?
He's thrown 8.
He's thrown 8, though. He's thrown 8. What kind of opportunities is this for this secondary to... come away with some takeaways?
Here's the thing, and I think we really learned this last season in talking about interceptions, is how many mechanics go into an interception. Like Mike McCarthy said this morning, it's not always about what your quarterback's doing. It could be other things. But what I find very interesting about the opportunities the Cowboys have is when they're in their team meetings, they're watching film, they're preparing for the Eagles, they're looking at all of those mechanics to see who can fit into those pieces to take advantage of the weakness that is creating said turnovers. So what I'm really looking forward to in this matchup specifically is, obviously you have Deron Bland, Jordan Lewis, all of that. How are the linebackers going to hold up? Because this is a ripple down effect, right? This is not just Jaylen Hurts yanks the ball out downfield. What is Deron Bland going to do? What is Stephon Gilmore? It doesn't work that way. There's a lot more you can peel back. The linebackers here, we've been talking about this, is inside the box, how they are going to continue to make their presence felt. Keep in mind, they've been an upward trajectory since, I want to say, the Chargers game. I'm going to go Chargers game because for the entire team, that's where I'm officially marking the start of what you're seeing, the best of the Dallas Cowboys, officially. And for me, what I'm looking at is you still have a very young linebacker room. We've talked about this without Leighton Vander Esch. How is Marquise Bell going to respond during this? Specifically because they're going to try to bully the younger guy. They're going to try to bully the weaker man in this situation, starting with your linebacker group, which is going to diagnose the plays. Jaylen Hurts is not one to just kind of give that away so quickly. Jaylen Hurts is a very, very strong quarterback in the sense that he's going to release the ball. Yes, the RPO is always a threat with Jaylen Hurts. However, we know the health of Jaylen Hurts is not fantastic right now, and I'm going to be interested to see how he's going to respond in that way. The RPO, maybe not so much of a threat in this game as it usually would be if he's feeling healthier. How can the linebackers take advantage of that specifically?
Well, that's the thing. If you're Nick Sirianni and you're not sure that about Hertz, have him turn and hand the ball off to DeAndre Swift. We mentioned a great move Howie Roseman has made with A.J. Brown. What about making the move to get Swift from the Lions?
Was Swift.
He's averaging... There we go. Oh, my goodness. I walked right into that one. Number 0. And he's a Philly guy, so he's back home. He knows a little something about the Cowboys-Philly rivalry from the Philadelphia perspective, but 4.9 yards per carry, and what a difference. Physical guy, too. He's not super tall, but about 212 pounds, very physical runner, can be downhill. Mike talked to Micah Parsons today about Swift, and he knows, and Micah is from Pennsylvania, so he knows a lot of the guys from that state, and so he's followed and known Swift for a long, long time. But what a great addition that he has been to that offense. And so I know that when we started off talking about the matchups, and you're asking Nicole, and we immediately went to A.J. Brown because he's he's on pace. All these 6 straight games with 125 yards plus, and their ability with the big plays. But oh my gosh, if they're able to run the ball this week,
well,
oh man, are you making it tough for yourself?
This is a test for your run defense.
Absolutely,
this is your run defense test of the year so far. Because again, if anybody's going to test you, it is going to be this Philly team in the run defense.
And because of what Swift's been able to do, it goes to the point that we made just a few minutes ago about those sustained drives, about how are you a good team on third down conversions? You're good on first and second down, and you're giving yourself shorter distances. You're staying ahead of the sticks. And so if the Eagles are able to do that on Sunday, they can make it a long day for the Cowboys defense.
I also thought it was interesting, Micah Parsons talking today, too. He said whoever wins up front is going to win this battle in general. And so, again, it's that trickle-down effect where you have your linebackers, then you have your D-line, and you have your nose specifically. That nose tackle, Jonathan Hankins.
Oh, boy.
Hey,
he's going to earn his money this
Looking
week.
at you this week specifically because he's going to be feeling it. He's going to be feeling it.
Because if the Cowboys defense has to commit those resources to the run and play up, that's when Smith and Brown can get behind you.
And you're talking tush push? Well, here you go. That's where you're going to feel it too.
Hey, if we get them to 4th down, I'm happy. Let's do that first, and then we'll worry about it.
You know?
All right, ladies. Well, we're gonna go and take our. Oh my goodness. We're gonna go ahead and take our second break. We're watching Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. We'll be right back.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that 6th ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
You know that sound anywhere. It's the crisp crunch of that first nacho chip. With its perfect cheese to sour cream ratio sitting atop a layer of delicious beans, it's a sip away from perfection. That's what we're looking for. Add a delicious, refreshing Pepsi and we've achieved absolute nacho nirvana. Because while you can pile those nachos high with every spicy, cheesy, savory topping, there's no topping a cool Pepsi finish. Nachos, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
The most electrifying event of the holiday season, Cowboys Christmas Extravaganza, powered by Reliant. Every Friday and Saturday night from November 17th through December 16th, Cowboys Christmas Extravaganza ignites the Star in Frisco with an unforgettable holiday performance showcasing 65 performers, including the world-renowned Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, Santa Claus, and appearances from your favorite Dallas Cowboys football heroes. Visit thestardistrict.com for more information. There we go.
It is a lot of fun.
It's so
especially
pretty.
if you got family coming in town for the holidays,
pretty.
and you're like, what can I do?
Yeah, if you want to show off,
it's free.
Yeah, be like, I live here.
Weather permitting, it is outdoors, so dress accordingly.
Yeah, and there's been some pretty cool people that make appearances during
Yeah,
it as well.
Tyron Smith is scheduled for the first opening night, Friday night, and his family. And so what they do is they come out, and there's a big tree, one of these LED lit trees. And so towards the end, as Santa makes his appearance, there'll be a special Cowboy VIP guest. They and their family will come out on the stage and press the button to light the tree. So if you're familiar with watching Rockefeller Center with the Rockettes and of that for their tree lighting ceremony, it's similar to that, and it's outdoors on our Tostitos
And Santa's going to be there, so be on your best behavior.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not trying to end up on that naughty list, girl. Not me.
Listen, me either. Obviously, we're on our last little few minutes, unfortunately. But the Cowboys have won, I believe, 7 of their last 10 matchups against the Eagles. You obviously need all 3 phases. Go ahead and talk about special teams. You heard from Sam Williams, who was playing gunner. A little shocking last week.
He was playing gunner.
Yeah,
it was cool. I wanted to catch up with Sam this week. He's a player I really try to go talk to every week, and in general, just catch up with him, see how he's doing. And so when he was playing gunner, I was telling him that when it happened, when the blocked kick happened, I was like, who was that? And then I saw Sam celebrating, and I was like, what is Sam doing out there? Like, what is going on? And then I had to go back and watch it on the replay. Anyways, I was telling him that whole story. So I asked him, how did this whole thing come up with you? How did you end up being in this gunner position, or what happened? And he said, well, I was joking with Bones at first, a while back, saying, hey, I want to try that. I can do that. And Bones was like, yeah, okay. You can try it at some point. And he was like, yeah, no, like, I'm serious. I want to try that. So then when CJ Goodwin went down and there was kind of an opportunity for other guys to fill in and shuffle in, Sam went back to Bones like, I could do that. And Bones was like, all right, go try it. And then he said that after they kind of tried a few reps, Bones came back to him and was like, yeah, you can do that. All right, let's continue and see where this goes. So Sam said when it happened, it wasn't something that was planned and specifically designed for him. And Bones said that as well earlier in the coordinator meetings in the week. And I asked Sam, I said, so how do you feel about this new opportunity? Is it, it's not something you've necessarily done before, but what's the biggest factor in it? And he said, my speed. My speed really gets to come to light when I'm doing this. Yeah. And then I asked him, I said, so going forward, if you get more opportunities, what's kind of the biggest thing, or what's the last thing, your typical reporter interview, what's the last thing you want to add about it? And he said, you better double team me if I'm playing gunner. So there you go.
And that's key, because only the guys like CJ Goodwin or the Matthew Slaters of the world can command a double team when on punt coverage. And so if you're able to do that, it frees up other guys getting down the field. So that could be huge. Yeah. And the other thing is, and you saw it, Jess, just the way that he enjoyed talking about it. But, when you're a young player, you're a good player, but you're at a defensive end rotation that is deep. And so you've really got to fight for playing time on this team, on Dan Quinn's defense, to be part of that defensive line rotation. It would be easy to get frustrated if you feel like you're not out there as often as you should be. But, hey, and by the way, the other backup defensive end is Dante Fowler, so he's but Sam Williams, because of his willingness to play teams and now get out there and play gunner, he had 21 snaps on special teams Sunday against the Rams. That's the same number of snaps that he had on defense. So basically, because of his willingness to get out there, he doubled his playing time. And he has the humility because some guys would think that it's a demotion to play special teams. But we talk about 3 phases of a game and, offense, defense, and special teams all being equally important. Well, on offense, you average about 65 plays, hopefully 70 in a game. You get 65 opportunities on average to make a difference. Same thing on defense, maybe about 65 plays. On special teams, there are maybe about 25 to 30 special teams plays in a game. That'd be on the higher side. And so even though it's 1/3 of the game, you got less than half the opportunities for plays to get out there and do something. And so if you're able to make every single one of those count, if you're able to flip the field, it may not be 2 points getting a safety because you blocked the punt out of the end zone. It may not be Wanye Thomas blocking a field goal and Noah Igbenogany picking it up and scoring the first touchdown of the year of the Cowboys. It doesn't always have to be in points. It doesn't have to be a field goal. But if you're able to flip the field, especially on Sunday when you have two evenly matched teams relatively, like the Cowboys and the Eagles, that could be the difference.
Well, make the Eagles drive it down the field.
Absolutely.
Put them in the position to where they have to go all the way down the field. Because, again, in that time of possession battle, it's important because you want to extend and all of that. But in this case, keep them all the way far back from that end zone and that red zone as you can. Do not allow them good field position, and special teams is going to be so key. We say this all the time of how key and important special teams is, but specifically with the Eagles, keep them as far back as you can. Keep them behind the sticks because they're good because, like you said earlier, Christy, they get in front of the sticks, and that keeps them ahead.
And this is actually where we need Kevontae Turpin, right? The opposite for us. Let's get us in some good field position.
He's been so close, just a hair's breadth away.
And he's so chill about it in the locker room. Like, we're the ones that are like, oh, you're almost there. And he's like, yeah, I'll get one. Like, Kevontae's really cool to talk to.
Yeah, we need that. It would just make things so much easier for this offense.
The thing is, they're not kicking to him. You shouldn't kick to Kevontae Turpin if you want to give yardage away and you want him getting that end zone, kick it straight to him, please
do.
But opposing teams aren't kicking to him, and that was another part of our conversation was how do you not get frustrated with that? And he's like, I just see what I have and I take it and I run with it, literally.
Well, ladies, that'll do it for today's episode of Girls Talk Boys Talk. We'll be back tomorrow. You're watching Girls Talk Boys Talk presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. We'll see you back tomorrow.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?